Hello!
My name is Jaclyn Squizzato.
And my name is Natalie Patrica, and we're both in our first year of our Masters of Architecture at Carleton University.
For this project, I chose to focus on the Mobius house by Ben van Berkel, and my word for the project is disconnect.
And for this project, I chose to focus on Villa Bollen by One Architecture, and my focus is connection.
So, to give you a brief background of the Mobius house. The house was originally commissioned in 1993 with the request from the client to design a house that would be a renovation of the architectural language. What does this mean? Well, the architect thought that it meant that the house would be a consequence of the client's way of life, and focused on the course of two people moving along their routes but crossing paths at particular moments. The clients also requested that their house have a stronger relationship with the landscape, specifically the meadows and beech trees surrounding the site. The proposal to convey all of these elements was found in the Mobius band. This is a diagram studied by astrologist and mathematician August Ferdinand, 1790 to 1868. It is literally made by taking a rectangular strip of paper, marking its corners, and twisting them into a figure 8 without left, right, beginning, or end. By then giving spatial depth to this band, the architect found that program, circulation, and structure could all be integrated seamlessly. Movement through this concrete loop traces the pattern of the family's daily routine, and by physically stretching the footprint, the architect is able to connect the multiple aspects of landscape. Movement through the landscape is also reinforced by the changing positions of the two main materials, glass and concrete. As the loop turns inside out, the exterior concrete can become interior furniture, and the glass facades become interior partitions. So the word I chose to encapsulate the Mobius house is therefore disconnect. The family had originally requested a house which was a renovation of the architectural language, not an innovation. While the Mobius band is an interesting proposal, it does not reference any architectural forms or styles, and therefore would have been more successful as a design concept rather than literal form. The function of the form is also more complicated than complex. While the Mobius band is visually interesting, it disregards communal space or family space, and instead utilizes complicated corridors which disconnect and de-emphasize the importance of the family as a whole. Overall, the Mobius house acts outside the context of society, instead being a mathematical architectural experiment carried out at the family's expense. One strong connection present in the project is the relationship of exterior skin to interior surfaces. The idea of an interchangeable and reversible material palette creates a unique connection to the landscape and goes beyond mere visual reference.
The house that I have chosen to study is the Villa Bollen in Holland by One Architecture. About 20 years ago, the Bollen family owned a plot of land in Holland and decided to build a French-style country house on it. To prevent their neighbors from building something that they felt wasn't visually appealing, they bought up all of the land around them until their land plot joined with a nature reserve. They hired a landscape architect to lay out the gardens on their property, creating many perspectives in a relatively ordered fashion. I see this as wanting to distance or disconnect themselves from potential neighbors and society. By buying up all the land and formally landscaping it, they separated themselves from the rest of the world around them. They grew increasingly unhappy with their house because they didn't feel it had enough of a connection to the outdoors and began to sleep outside. They realized that they needed a house that would intensify their relationship with the outdoors. They hired One Architecture and expressed their love for Mies van der Rohe's Farnsworth house. They desired a house in this fashion because they saw it as having an intense relationship with nature. The addition was inserted as a long rectangular structure on the back of the house, with a direct view out onto the gardens. It is a largely open plan, allowing the eye to pass through the spaces to the outside. The entire addition was slightly elevated so that one would have a view over the entire landscape and garden. I believe that we first experience the world visually, so the visual connection of the family members to the outside is the most important for them. Our first reaction to people, places, and situations is always based first on visual appearance. So in order for the family to feel like they had a strong connection to the outside, the visual connection always has to be there. The architecture seems to disappear as it achieves the closest relationship with nature possible, complete transparency. The mullions become like trees and the glass disappears. Sectionally, the division between outside and inside is almost incalculable, with the patio extending directly out from the inside. The idea of connection is present in the house on a few levels. The first and most obvious is the visual connection of the family to the landscape, a connection which they so desired. This allows them to be able to imagine the warm breeze, the sound of the trees moving, the smells of the fresh rainfall, and the feeling of sun on their skin, all while being inside. The second is the physical connection between outside and inside. This connection appears seamless, not only visually, but architecturally as well, with no level change at the moment a person steps outside. Architecturally, there are strong physical separations between outside and inside, which makes you aware of when you cross it. When this separation is removed, then the feeling of connection is intensified and the line is blurred. Third is the connection between old and new. This is not only present as this is an addition onto an older house, but it is also present in its echoing of Mies's Farnsworth house. This is not a direct copy by any means, but it does employ many of the same techniques to achieve similar effects of connecting to the landscape and transparency.
So, thank you for listening to our video.
And hopefully we'll see you all soon.